One thing we all love about the TM6 is that we get access to the function of high heat. What we don't love so much is that not every recipe has high heat in it. So today I'm actually going to show you how you can take a recipe without the high heat and manually find a different recipe to utilize that high heat to intensify the flavor of your dish. The dish I've chosen today is Asian Nachos, one of my absolute favorite from the Chaos collection, and I'm going to use the beef tacos recipe to access the high heat. Let's have a look how it works. So to make life easier, I've popped both of the recipes that I want to use into my weekly plan. So we're going to go into my week and you'll see I have both of those recipes there. The Asian Nachos, which is the recipe we're cooking today, and the beef tacos, which is the recipe I'm taking the high heat element out of to brown my mince. Right, so to get started, we're jumping into our Asian Nachos recipe, and I have already done the first element, which is to make my nachos out of wonton wrappers. A little bit different, I know, but trust me, they are delicious. They only take a couple of minutes in the oven, so make sure you watch them. But because we've already done that step, I am going to jump ahead to step 3, which is the pork mince. First step is to grate the cheeses. I've got some mozzarella cheese, 100 grams of that, and some cheddar cheese, also 100 grams of that, just cut into nice 3 centimetre cubes. Now we're going to grate that and set it aside, 10 seconds on speed 7. That's done, cheese grated in 10 seconds, and we're just going to set that aside. We've cleaned and dried our mixing bowl. This is where having 2 bowl blades comes in very handy. And we're going to pop in 20 grams of peanut oil, 2 garlic cloves, a small knob of ginger, and some chili. You can choose to de-seed the chili to take out some of the heat if you prefer. Now we're going to chop that up nice and finely on speed 7 for 3 seconds. It's asking us to scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then we're going to saute it with the simmering basket on top for 2 minutes on 120 degrees, speed 1. So that's now sauteed beautifully. The next step is the part where we're going to play a little and we're going to jump into the beef tacos recipe, because instead of putting 500 grams of mince in all together as the recipe asks for and cooking that off, I want to access high heat because I want to brown this mince and I want to intensify the flavour. Now, by doing that, I do need to only go 250 grams of meat at a time. So let's jump out of this recipe, go press our home button, and we're going to go back to my week and jump into our beef tacos recipe. Now, if you scroll down and jump into the part which tells you to add your first lot of 250 grams of beef mince, we are aware that there's an active recipe, so we want to cancel out of that recipe, yes, because we want to access this recipe. Now, just before I do that, we've still got our garlic and chili and oil in here. I'm just going to pop half of that aside so that I can pop the other half in with the second lot of pork mince. All right, we'll tear our scales. First 250 grams of pork mince goes in. We're going to make sure that it's evenly around the blades. Press next. We've already got our oils in there, so we can ignore that part. And we're now going to place our splash guard on top as it's directing us to do. Press done, and it's going to cook for 5 minutes on our high heat. That is now our first lot of mince done. And what we're going to do is pop it aside into our thermo server. It's beautifully browned. And what it's done by using the high heat is cooked off a little bit more of the liquid that tends to come out with your mince. So we'll pop this aside and we're going to just continue on with the recipe, because now we have the second lot of 250 grams of mince that goes into the bowl. And instead of the oil, we've got the leftover second portion of that chili, peanut oil, ginger and garlic. splash guard on, done, and away we go. Now that all of my mince is done, I'm going to jump back into the original recipe and continue on with the Asian nachos. So to do that, we're going to press home, our 3 little dots, and go back into my week, Asian nachos, and then just find the step that we were up to, which in this case was step 7. And we want to quit the active recipe, which was the beef tacos, and away we go. Now we're going to add the rest of the mince back in with our mince that we just cooked. Carefully pop it into the bowl with all of its beautiful juices and continue on. So we're going to create the beautiful sauce that goes with the Asian nachos, and that is adding some sugar, some soy sauce, some hoisin, and some oyster sauce. All going to go in there together. Lid goes on without our measuring cup, and 3 minutes on 120 degrees, reverse, speed 1. So our mince and our sauce are now done. And that is the bulk of the recipe finished. Now, if you'd like, in the recipe it does say to pop the mince with the cheese on top under the grill and melt it before you start layering it up. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going to pop it into my thermoserver and then continue on to create my salad, and I'll layer it up and show you the end product. And there you have it. Accessing high heat to intensify the flavours of your dish is as easy as that. Just jumping into an existing recipe that has the high heat function, manually accessing it, and away you go. Now, I hope you give this a go. Let us know in the comments below when you do and what you thought of it. In the description below, we've got the links to the collections that have high heat in them, plus the link to this amazing recipe. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe, and see you in the next video.